Well, they said they were going to leave the best for last. It's not really true, but here I am. And so, Neil Palachi, and I am a money coach. I work primarily in the divorce arena. I have a company called the Wealth Creator Company for Women. I have also a national network called the Divorce Transition Professionals. Is my slide up there, John? Let's see. I don't know how to use this. I'm going to let you. Thank you. All right, there I am. I have one slide. I'm a big spender, you know. But the beauty of that slide is that you can take your camera out, your iPhone, your Android, and you can look at the QR code through it. You'll get right to my website where you can sign up for our newsletter and get all sorts of fabulous information. And if you want to call me, you can use those numbers, emails, or websites. So I'm going to talk to you about a very serious subject. I've got about 10 minutes. I can get a lot done in 10 minutes, right? The subject of divorce. But before I do that, I just want to give you a little bit of information that I think is interesting. It applies to what I'm talking about, but it also applies to what we're talking about today, which is the reverse mortgage, which is a fabulous product, by the way, and something that I recommend highly in the right situation, right? It's not for everybody, but it is for a lot of people, and it does solve a lot of fabulous problems. Not so fabulous problems. It's a fabulous solution to some not so fabulous problems. But I want you to know that somebody had mentioned that people are living longer. Who wants to take a guess as to how many people there are in the United States today that are over the age of 100? I will give you a $10 Starbucks card if you are on the nose. You have to be on the nose, though, not closest. Any guesses? How many? 100,000 is close. 103,000. 93,000. No. I mean, there's only so much I can do with the $10. You know, it's $10. 97,000. 97,000. Oh, hold on a second. 96,999. I just got the alert. But let me ask you another question. What is the age of the person, do you think, ever recorded oldest person to live in the world? What? Close. Close. Oldest person who's ever lived. Oh, what did you say? 117. It's close. It's actually, no, you're too late. It's 122. 122. What is the age of the oldest person who's living in America today that can prove it? I know that's funny, but there are people who said, I was born in, you know, but we can't prove it. But proof. What do you think? 116? It's close. 117, he's not so close. Anybody else? 112. Close. But no, 111. Yeah, not so close. 113 is the, yep. You see, nobody's getting that $10 Starbucks card. I'll ask a few more questions and somebody will win it. Somebody will win it. Okay, 113 years old. I was telling my friend Rob earlier today that when I used to be in the life insurance business in the 80s and 90s, that there came a point in the 90s where they changed the illustrations, you know, the projections went from stopping at 100 to 120. Like if you look at a life insurance illustration today, they take it all the way out to 120. And trust me, there are these fellas with little round glasses sitting in little rooms at the back of buildings in the basement, figuring all this crap out. I'm telling you, actuaries, if they say that they have to have life insurance illustrations to 120, that's because they know, not think, they know that soon there will be more and more people who are living to 120. And maybe one of those 97,000 people who are currently over 100. And just think that the person that was 122, by the way, died in 1997. So quickly, without using your calculator, for a $10 Starbucks card, when was she born? What? Winner, chicken dinner. Okay, $10 Starbucks card coming your way. I will need your date of birth, driver's license number, social security number, and email address, most importantly. Okay, very good. So get me all of that and I'll get you the $10 Starbucks card. No problem. Now, why am I telling you all this other than that it's somewhat amusing? Because when you think about the reverse mortgage is one of those products that if you use it properly can help sustain you throughout all of your remaining years. I'm not saying it'll cover 100% of your income, because hopefully you've got other things like Social Security and an investment portfolio and other real estate and so forth that's going to help you. But definitely, as Marty said, the home is now, it kind of always was, but now especially is a legitimate investment. It is not just a place to live. It can help you to provide income that will last your entire lifetime. Right? Now, I mentioned to you, and when Gina introduced me, she said to you that I'm a divorce consultant, which I've been for the last 13 years. And divorce is such a fun subject to talk about now, isn't it? Don't you all agree? I can just see they're just like... you know, one of the things that we know about divorce, unfortunately, is that about half the people in this room have gone through it. Right? Are going to go through it, have gone through it. It's kind of a problem. One of the problems that comes out of divorce is usually and quite often associated with the home. Right? That's often the biggest asset in a divorce scenario. It's often the biggest asset, period, whether you're getting divorced or not. But in a divorce scenario, there is a couple of choices, maybe three. Either he's going to keep it, she's going to keep it, or neither of us are going to keep it. Pretty much. Right? Now, let's say that the person who's going to stay in that house has a reasonably good credit score, but not great. They have pretty good income, but not great. But they have really good equity in that house. And they got to figure out, I think everybody knows this, in California, we live in a community property state, right? So in a divorce situation, you get what? What does each person receive? 50%, right, of the assets. Now, there's some exceptions to that, like if there was inheritance and that was separate property, or if there was assets that were pre-marital and so on and so forth. There are some exceptions, but pretty much you get half of the assets. Now, you say, well, I've got this house and it's worth $1 million, which today in our area where we are is kind of standard, right? And if they've been there a while, they might have, because of the appreciation over the last few years, they could have $500,000 in equity, maybe more, depending on, you know, if they've done some refinancing and pulled out some cash. It depends, but they could have quite a bit of equity. And so they're sitting there and they think, oh, well, you know, we're going to go through this divorce, and my credit's kind of 660. my income, I got a good income, like 100 grand, let's say, or 120 grand, which is, I think, is a fair bit of money, a fairly good income. My spouse does not have as much income or any income, and so I'm going to have to pay spousal support and child support if I have children, and I've got to pay this mortgage if I'm going to stay here, and insurance and property taxes and so on and so forth. And so, you know, you can ask your mortgage specialists in here, but those ratios get tight. Like, can this person actually qualify for a mortgage? Right? Do they have enough income? Now, what we learned today, or what you already knew, is that the qualifications necessary for a reverse mortgage are not the same. Right? You don't use credit to qualify. You don't use income to qualify. It's all about equity, right, John? For the most part. You do have to have some. You have to be able to pay the property tax. You have to be able to pay the insurance and so on and so forth. But pretty much it's about the equity. So let's just say that the person staying in the house, there's $500,000 of equity there, and there aren't a lot of other assets. And so what do they have to pay? What do they owe the spouse, essentially, that is not staying in the house? $250,000, right? 50-50? Got to split that equity. Now, if there's some balancing, if there's an IRA outside, and there's some cars, and there's some other assets that there might even be some other debt, and so you've got to minus and plus that stuff and figure all that out. But let's say at the end of the day, a couple of $100,000 is got to come from somewhere to pay that spouse that is not going to stay in the house. And they can't qualify any other way. The reverse mortgage becomes the way that they are able to stay in the house and pay off the spouse. That rhymes. I'm going to write that down. Pay off the house. Stay in the house and pay off the spouse. Hold on a second. Let me write that down. Pay off the spouse. Got it. I have to go trademark that tomorrow because I love that. So it becomes a very, very crucial and important piece of the divorce equation. And in some situations, depending on the amount of money that there is, how much equity there is in that situation, that person staying in the house could even possibly also not have a mortgage payment, right? There's the potential, again, it depends on what the amount of equity is, and again, I leave that to the specialist. That's not what I do, but in my situation, what I would say to a client is, you've got to look at this as an option. You've got to go see John because this may be an option. This may be a way for you, because before that, in those situations, people are thinking, well, we have to sell. And it's a heartbreak. Because one of those people often wants to stay in that house. They don't want to sell the house. And that's the only way that they can do it. So in a divorce situation, if you have somebody that you know that's in a divorce scenario and they're wondering about how they're going to keep their house, let them, well, they can talk to me or they can talk to John or Gina and so forth, and talk about the reverse mortgage, because it really, really is a fabulous way to balance the asset distribution in a divorce situation. You have a question?
They got nothing, right?
Well, no, they're going to have cash. They're going to have cash. So, or maybe, right, and there may be a fight about it, and, you know, unfortunately, that does happen. You're absolutely right. I mean, they have to both agree, right? On who's going to stay, and sometimes they can't agree and the property has to be sold. And if it gets down to it and they end up, you know, going to court and actually going in front of a judge, it's possible that the judge may order it to be sold. So yeah, that could happen, and so hopefully they can figure that out and have it be somewhat amicable, particularly when there's kids. If the kids are going to, you know, if they've been raised there or they're going to schools in the area, they know that kind of thing. But the point is, the reverse mortgage is an often overlooked product because people just don't know about it, or they have this opinion, as somebody mentioned before, that it is not a good deal, right? That's from 20 years ago, probably. It wasn't a good deal. It was expensive. But then it kind of got brought in under the umbrella of all the other mortgages, and there's more equality now relative to the reverse mortgage versus all of the other mortgages that are available. So let me just end with a little more laughter, because I enjoy that. And we're at 7:04, and I know we're running 4 minutes late. Right, but, you know, so hopefully this doesn't offend anybody, but, you know, I am an English, Spanish, Portuguese, Sephardic Jew. And if anybody knows anything about Jewish people, goodbyes take forever. We take forever. So I'm only 5 minutes over here. Like, it's about 30 to 45 minutes for us typically. So if you consider this like a goodbye, you know, we're ahead of schedule. But I want to say to John, you had mentioned, like, where is my mother going to live? You said, where is your mother going to live? Okay, if something were to happen, like, how is she? I have a deal. Like, my sister's in the room. She's right there. She's 5 years younger than me. She's going to live with her. We already have that. She doesn't really know that. But I've had a chat with her husband, my brother-in-law, and that is what's going to happen. And I understand from Tracy that there's an ADU seminar coming up.
Next Thursday.
Be there. Right? That's where Mum's going to live. I also want to say to Marty, the whole pyramid thing, it was aliens. They didn't figure that shit out. Excuse me. It was aliens. I'm telling you, it had to be. I mean, seriously. How did they do that? I don't know. Brilliant women. I believe that. That I believe. One other thing that I want to say, and that is reverse mortgages are now available to those at 55 years old and older instead of 62. Although John clarified something for me the other day, you've got to have a lot of equity in your house in order to be able to do that at 55. So it's not as flexible as it would be at 62 and above. But I have to say that I actually resent it. The fact that you can be considered a senior at 55 it's angering. Right? I mean, come on. I went and got a haircut today. I feel like I'm in the middle of a comedy routine. But I did go get a haircut today because I wanted to look nice. And I'm looking up Supercuts because, like, go to a hairdresser? Are you kidding me? So I saw up there $26, reasonable. Seniors, but they do it at 60. I just turned 60 in March. $24. I said, that's it? $2? That's what you give me at 60? I don't know what the world's coming to. Anyway, so thank you so much. Mainstreet Mortgage, thanks for putting this on. This is awesome. Gina, I know you did a ton of work putting this on. The food is absolutely phenomenal. I don't know where the husband and wife are. There they are. Absolutely phenomenal. And I'm going to pass it back to you then. And thank you all very much for putting up with my nonsense. I appreciate it.